Hi guys, it's Leary here, and well, today I'm going to bring you Path of Exile, a game which I have been spending a lot of time on lately, and I wanted to show a build I made. It's a custom crit build, and it's a little bit different from other custom crit builds in the fact that it doesn't use LMP, but it uses Chain as its main spam skill, linked to Barrage of course, and I linked Arc and Fireball, and I linked Arc first so that Arc will trigger. I linked Fireball first so that Fireball will trigger before Arc, and this has to do with the mask I'm wearing, which is the 3 dragons, which will make my Fireball shock and my Arc freeze, so that my Fireballs will increase the damage the Arc does, instead of Arc shocking mobs and um, having the Fireball do more damage. Free Fragrance is just for the good synergy with Fireball. For us, I have a lot of crit chance on my gear. I would like to have more crit chance on my rings. My ME is pretty fine at the moment. Boots are just GG boots with life, resist. They aren't as GG as they could be, and my belt also life and resist. It's pretty basic. In my 3 dragons, I'm wearing Fall Fireball into LMP, Chain, and Life Leech, because it's a fall skill and it's pretty awesome. Fireball fires 32 times. Instead of that, it fires a high number of projectiles, so the LMP will always work on each fire it does. So instead of shooting just 32 fireballs, it will shoot 96 fireballs, all chaining around. In my Maligaros, I'm wearing Lightning Arrow, linked to LMP, custom crit, and crit weakness. I'm using that as, first of all, a single target skill, and to curse mobs with crit weakness, which greatly improves my damage when I'm up against larger packs. It works pretty damn great actually. And Lightning Arrow also greatly increases the freeze, or it freezes because of the 3 dragons. Well, basically it freezes packs, so that's a really good thing. Also, I'm wearing a custom damage taken with Enfeeble and Molten Shell on my, though I don't know if it's needed, but Enfeeble is needed on a custom damage taken setup, because sometimes you can take a lot of damage. Molten Shell doesn't help too much, but I'm just trying that around. In my boots, I'm wearing my Reduce Mana linked to Clarity and Wrath, and in my bow I'm also wearing Haste, and as you can see now how this works is I can snapshot Clarity onto my life with Malachi, which has Blood Magic, which means that when I put it on, Clarity goes on my health, and when I put it off, Clarity stays on my health, and I can put auras onto my mana. So now you can see I do have a little bit too little mana regen, but that's not a problem at all, because I can simply turn Wrath off when I want to farm, or use Wrath when I want to do more damage with my bow. I don't know if it's needed, but I'm just testing around with using auras to also improve the barrage damage itself, which can sometimes be kind of important. As you can see, my crit chance is pretty decent when I have Doomfletch on. I still want to be able to use an Harboring Bow, because that will greatly improve my crit chance. It will also allow me to stop using Wrath, because I don't need to do any damage with my bow anymore. It's just some threshold you need to reach for that. So here we go with the snapshot Clarity onto our health, wait till our mana regen, and we swap Reduce Mana onto Link to Haste, and then when we're ready we put it back into the right slot, because this way Haste also gets the Reduced Mana snapshot. Snapshotting it's really useful. And the way this build works and what is the core of the build is basically that you are using Barrage combined with Chain, Fireball and Arc. Chain will allow Barrage to hit up to 12 times because it shoots 4 times, and then all those 4 projectiles, Chain hitting 2 other targets. So you will hit 12 times, you will have 12 chances to trigger cost or crit, and you will on average trigger 10 times maybe. So you are firing Fireball and Arc both 10 times, and those both chain through the rest of the mobs, hitting a lot of targets, and most importantly also auto-targeting when some mobs died, and when they hit another target they retarget themselves to the right mob which is still alive. Of course, if it dies in the meantime, that's pretty bad luck because it will still miss, but most of the times it can easily off-screen hit stuff and that kind of stuff. So chain works really well in tight areas because you can shoot around corners, and you can hit mobs that you otherwise can't see, which is the great advantage above LMP. LMP actually works either when you are very close onto mobs, which I don't like to be close on mobs. As you can see, my life is pretty low for Merciless. So I don't like to be close on mobs, so I don't use LMP in tight areas. In wide areas, like here in Felshine Ruins, I often swap in LMP for like added chaos because it just makes things go faster. You do risk more dying due to lag or due to reflect. Reflect is a real danger, especially when you have very low resistances, as you can see with me, and that is the point of not having great gear. So yeah, that's more of a problem I have at the moment. I'm very vulnerable to resist, so I don't like to use LMP too much. At added chaos, it's a pretty good game to jump in for LMP because it gives chaos damage, and chaos damage can't be reflected at all currently with any mod in the game. So yeah, I like added chaos a lot. It's still under level, but when it reaches level 15 to level 20, the damage of added chaos is pretty damn great. Not tagged onto Arc, but Fireball does increase a lot in DPS. So you can here see Fireball go off. I decided, well, let's see how much damage it does. It doesn't do too much damage. But that mainly was because of the allies have energy shield, and energy shields did leave. The main thing I use Fall Fireball for is when I am in very tight and dangerous situations, which I don't really like to be in. Because it has life leech, you automatically also regen your life when you do take a little bit too much damage, which can sometimes happen. As you can see, in my offhand I'm using Smoke Mine, so I can open strong boxes. It's a really good way to stay safe, and I use it basically on each of my characters. It's nothing build specific. So yeah, that's basically how it works with chain. When you feel like a mob is going down too slow, you just use lightning arrow. Like here, I'm using a couple of lightning arrows, and then wait till I crit, and they die a lot faster. Normally blue mobs are a bit tough for me, especially the rock giants, but with this character I feel like I have a lot more clear speed. And some people say just use LMP, but I don't want the highest clear speed I can get. I want a character that is well balanced, and I feel like this character is pretty okay balanced at the moment. It is a little bit fragile still, but it's more due to the fact that I don't have too much life and resist on my gear, which is more a fact that I'm broke than the fact that I'm not playing well or the build is lacking. Because when you don't have resist, you don't have resist. Mostly that's not a problem of the build. I do use rings that could have been resist rings and that kind of stuff. But, I like to have my crit chance fall a bit higher, and when I'm playing well, so I don't worry too much about that at all. Let's get onto the footage where I'm using LMP so I can compare a bit for you to see how LMP actually works. I'm using LMP, and you can see the screen filling is insane and it seems to work really great, but yeah, it works really great. In open areas especially, it doesn't work too well combined with Arc, because Arc doesn't scale off the LMP. But you can see that, well, the packs go down pretty fast, but they still don't go down one shot. So I don't see the use of using LMP in favor of chain at all, especially not seeing that just adding in LMP doesn't work too great. So I won't ever be replacing chain at all at that moment. But you can see I decided, oh wait, I took Arc out first, so let's see how it works without Arc. You don't freeze, but you can also see that damage doesn't differ too much. You add in added chaos, you substitute Arc, but using Arc for the freeze is like something I really want to do, because the freeze can be very important due to the fact that it makes you a lot more survivable. So let's take out. Oh, let's put in Archcraft. Let's see. This only is a level 2 Archcraft, but that's not the point I'm going to show you. The reason Archcraft is bad in my opinion is because, as you can see, it fills up a lot and the animations are pretty hefty. When I'm playing solo, that might not be too much of a problem, but I like to party a lot. So when you are partying, Archcraft is really not a good choice, because when you're partying, the lag threshold goes down a lot, so you will have a lot more lag. So now see here, I took out chain, and this is the weakness of LMP. You can see that it's really tough to clear up packs with just LMP, and it's actually easier with chain, even though the calculations will say that LMP does more DPS. It's not really true, because LMP both misses more and it doesn't have the piercing that chain has, which is a really important fact about chain actually. So using LMP only is not really an option unless you're playing against the boss. That's just that once in a map time you need to use LMP, right? So not really afraid that. Cool. I switched back to my farming mode, and you can see here Fist Reflect isn't a problem at all, because your bow doesn't do any much damage. You can do corrupt areas, most of them, but I wouldn't try Synthetic. Synthetic. And in a moment you're going to see Reflect Back, I believe? Yes, Reflect Back. Okay, so I decided, well shoot, oh my goodness, that's a lot of damage. So yeah, it's not really a good idea to take on the Reflect Back just brainlessly, going down 2k health with just one shot. It's pretty dangerous, and that considering that my cosmic crit isn't fully leveled, my crit chance isn't fully leveled, so when that was fully leveled I could easily do a one shot on myself. I do admit I don't have the full fire resist, my lightning resist is a bit higher, so the arc should have been pretty well negated. But let's say you have full resist, you can still count on doing 1 to 2k damage on yourself when you're like fully geared up, fully spell damaged, fully projectile damaged. When you are fully built, that can do a lot of damage. So let's go into the crypt, because I was talking about tight areas, and you can see here while using LMP, a lot of the projectiles, when you aren't firing down an alley, will hit corners, will hit doorways. It's still not bad to use LMP, but when you are choosing between LMP and chain, I wouldn't recommend using just LMP because of that fact. You can see that chain does actually a lot of work hitting mobs that I would otherwise not have aimed for, which is a good thing because it widens your spreading and that kind of stuff. So that's really important, and it's the reason I use chain. So when you're doubting, is chain really viable? Don't use just LMP. Use it either in combining or... oh, I died. That was a lot of elemental damage and I don't have the resists. Okay, so that's a bit of a problem about my gear. I can die pretty easily to a lot of elemental damage. Anyway, as I was saying, when you want to choose between chain and LMP, use either both or use chain. A lot of people say LMP is better because of the DPS. It is LMP, it looks awesome. I would be pro GMP, but also probably not on its own, because as you can see here, the chain really allows me to hit past the corner. I can easily fire through doorways, still hit everything I need to hit. As you can see, it's really useful, and it's really the core of build that you can use chain to clear easier. It's not necessarily faster, but it's easier to clear stuff. And in darker areas you can also, due to arc, see where the next mob is because of the chain. It automatically retargets. So let's speed it up till we see the boss, and we can see how we easily clear the boss. you can see I skipped the boss of the box. It had a rogue exile in it. I can't do most rogue exiles at the moment because they jump around too much. With only 2k health, it's not really good idea. I switch an LMP, and I'm using lightning arrow to get some curses off on the normal mobs. I fire a couple of times and kill the normal mobs around. And you can see there's the boss. It already is half down to its HP. It gets pretty fast down, especially when I'm like almost face tanking him, which I don't like to do. Put on Fall Fireball to get some leech back because I went really down there, and then he was already down to death. That took really shortly, and you can easily switch in LMP for the bosses. That's not a problem when you are afraid of bosses like, oh, I'm using a chain and I'm not using LMP. You can just put in LMP and don't worry about things. Okay, so let's go on to our skill tree. It's a really basic skill tree, just to pick up a lot of crit chance and enough life. That's mostly part of the build. If you're costing crit, I'm going through Heart of the Oak and Ballistic Mastery because that's projectile damage benefits Fireball, and I'm picking up attack speed, going through thick skin. That's pretty easily. That's what you basically do when you're leveling a ranger, because that allows you to either level with Spectre Throw or your bow. But it's really the best path taking while leveling. Then you go through the bow nodes, pick up all the crit chance there, and this is like when you're using Barrage to do damage too, so you are also picking up a lot of fist damage nodes and attack speed for your bow, but you can later spec out of those points when you feel like I've enough a crit chance now to fully rely on my damages. So I will probably be refunding at these points pretty soon, because I can spec into better nodes like aura nodes, like the better crit chance nodes, projectile damage nodes, which is basically the same as enhancing fist damage for your bow, but also for Fireball. So yeah, and I'm also busy picking up life because I'm still a little bit behind, and it's because in the beginning I decided not to pick the life within the ranger area, the 6 life nodes. So yeah, I'm really behind on the life, but you can always adapt your own choices to that, or you can just level to level 60 with Spectral Throw. It's a really easy way to level, and then fully switch into a custom crit build. But anyways, these life nodes are really important to pick up, and when you want more damage and you are already relying on crit chance, you can easily pick up the crit strike multiplier. Herbalism is a really good node to pick up when you feel like, or when you are using Flask a lot more, and when you are relying on evasion, you can also pick up Underscale, or else pick up Iron Reflexer, which I'm gonna do later on. So yeah, but for the rest, it's a really basic tree. Just search up any custom crit tree, and that will work. But the unique thing about the build is that I'm using chain instead of LMP for custom crits, or instead of GMP, mostly because I like chain a lot, and it allows me to use added chaos when I'm not using LMP, and that will combat reflect for a little bit. And reflect deaths aren't the most common deaths. For other reflex, face reflex is more dangerous, but Ally reflect, it can happen, so I try to combat that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the footage, and see you later, guys.